Brendan, can you read off the list of names of who we are so that we can check
Well,
in?
we have to, so we have to call the meeting to order. So, and you've done that.
I called the meeting to order at 7:06.
Yep. So we don't have to do the roll until we have a vote. So
Okay. All right.
I've made notes of everyone that's here. You know, Mr. Irish is here, of course.
Yes, as a guest, and
Mr. Voyatis is here as well.
Voyatis is here as a guest and as a presenter, and I believe that's all in the background, unless there's somebody else that wants to participate and hasn't informed me. Do I hear anybody else? I do not hear anybody else, so I will begin. First item, I tell you what, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of June, and I would like to do that. Before we do that, I want to say that the third item on the agenda was to discuss the Marlborough Armory with the owner developer about planning and future plans, and in the owner developer, Mr. George Voyatis, is here with us. I would like to make him the second item after the approval of the minutes, so that George can move on to bigger and better things. He doesn't
Or dinner.
Yes.
Boy, there. Can I make a motion? Can I make a motion that we move the plan review for that up to number 2 on the agenda?
Second.
Motion has been made, seconded.
And now we go down the line.
Yes, please do.
All right, so motion has been seconded, so let's go down the line. Pamela,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Captain Nick,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and Alan never made it, correct? We still have an absent?
Yeah, he isn't able to connect in for some reason.
All right, no worries. We still have a quorum, and we'll just mark him as absent. And I vote in the affirmative, yes.
Okay, that motion is passed. So getting back to the first item, approval of the June minutes. We've read these. We've had almost a month to look at them since Brendan was kind enough to crank them out as fast as he did. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or anything about last month's minutes? Any problems, any additions, deletions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Seconded, motion is approved and seconded. The vote? Continue.
So roll call time.
Yes.
Pamela,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Captain Nick,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I vote yay.
Good. We now come to the second item, which is kind of near and dear to our heart as a committee, because even before we knew Mr. Voyatis, this committee has always been interested in what the heck is going to happen to the Armory, and it's the type of icon that our committee has to be concerned with. I know that there are members of the city council that are concerned with it, but this is our responsibility. And I think we're fortunate that we have George to tell us about his developments and what he thinks his progress is in reference to the Armory on Lincoln Street. George, can you just inform us about where you think this is going and your relationship with the rest of the city, not just with our commission?
Yes. First, I want to thank the esteemed committee members and guests Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our vision for the Armory. And to be very straightforward, this was a reimagining this building was a balancing act that would challenge even the Flying Wallendas. We had the historical significance of the Armory. We had the very poor structural condition of the Armory. We needed to make it a place that you wanted to live in. So things like the very small windows had to go, so you didn't feel like you were in prison. And then we had to make it viable. If you don't make it viable, then it doesn't really move forward, or if it does move forward, it doesn't last very long. It doesn't succeed. So those are the things that we had to balance. In fact, two previous developers looked at this and saw the structure of the building and determined that the only way to make it viable was to tear it down. And when they couldn't tear it down, they ran away. But you just have to, we just worked harder, I believe, and more creatively to keep the existing facade and decided to build a building within a building. So we're not putting any major load on the existing facade. It makes a huge difference structurally. And then we had to keep the spirit of the Armory intact. So we, the buttresses, the fortress-like structure, design after design after design. What you see in front of you, or what I don't know if you have those in front of you, but I can share them with you. I did have them on a slide on a PowerPoint, but for some reason I can't get it to work.
George, I've got them on my computer, George, but
George, I can give you sharing access so you can share the files.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Sure thing.
I want to mention to the committee at this time that the plans that George is working on presently have already been given to Michael Ossing, president of the council, and also to economic development. I assume the mayor has seen them as well.
Okay.
Excellent, George.
All right.
Yeah,
Can
that's good.
everybody?
We can see your presentation.
You can see the presentation. Okay.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Well, the best way I could verbalize the Armory in a presentation is a legacy of service. That Armory was built in 1905, and it served the community for 85 years. It's also been vacant for 3 decades. And the next step is to redevelop it and bring it back into service and keep that service going for at least another 85 years. So this is where we were yesterday. This seems like it was the I'd say 70s or early 80s. It's the only photo I could find. Where we are today, and these probably aren't even the worst pictures. The structure is deficient in many ways, and that adds considerable to the cost of this endeavor. Here we are, hopefully tomorrow, if everything goes well. I just wanted to spend a little time here. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but we've basically kept all 4 the footprint is the same. What we did is we changed the slope of the roof, and you'll see that on another slide. We've kept the castle-like structure, and the height is basically the height of the top of that hip roof. So I don't think we're any higher. If we are, it's by inches, not feet. So we kept the scale the same. And this was, we even these windows here take off from this brickwork here. We tried we spent quite a bit of time to try to make this work. And this, the front portion was where we went back and forth a lot of times, and we needed to tie it in to the rest. So these buttresses that we have here, we recreated them here in a linear fashion. So that's basically the same view as yesterday. I don't know if I can do that. How does that? Oh, I don't know how to go back on this one. But so here's another view, rotating a little bit. This is the back. So you'll see where the roof, right, the height really hasn't changed except for, these design elements up here. And by making the changing the slope of the roof, we're able to utilize every square inch of that building. The floor plan, which is probably hard to read because it's small on the slide, was also quite a bit of work, because what we needed to do was make this project viable, and that translated into, for us, the number of units that actually could pay for this. And we were able to put in 21 units, 19 two-bedroom units and 2 one-bedroom units. And things with, so we basically have a townhouse, basically 2 townhouses stacked on top of each other. So here where I have my pointer, and over here is 1 unit. You walk in, there's a powder room, kitchen, dining room, living room. You go down the stairs, you have bathroom, bedroom, bathroom. And then right above it, so call that the first floor, you can call this, to make it easier, let's call that the first floor where you enter, and then the ground floor. And then we'll call this the second floor. You have the same thing. You enter, powder room, kitchen, dining room, living room, but now you go up the stairs, not down the stairs, and you have the same exact floor plan. Bathroom, bedroom, and another bathroom. And these have been grouped together for efficiency, for cost savings in construction. We tried to save money, smart, in a very smart way, so we can put it on the surfaces that you see, the surfaces that you touch, and really try to make it a showpiece.
George, I have one quick question.
Of course.
What are the square footages of each of these 2-bedroom units?
Each one of these, they're about 1,000 square feet.
Cool.
A little bit less. A little bit less. So they're not large, but they're well designed. We like them. So let's go.
George?
Yes, of course.
George, the business with, I think it's, really kind of cool having a townhouse. Handicapped accessible, or is that a problem, or?
We'll make sure to make it handicap accessible. So what we have here are, some things, there's stairs.
Yes.
There's stairs here. Each unit has stairs except for one bedroom. So we basically designed it as townhouses because that's the only way we could use the space. Yes. We tried it multiple different ways, and where we can potentially put in would be this 1 bedroom here and a 1 bedroom here. So I think 2 units would be.
I guess the only thing I'm bringing up, George, is ADA wouldn't be a problem then in your view of developing this.
No, not according to the architect, but he didn't flag that.
Yes.
I think it's important to remember that handicapped accessibility does not always mean wheelchair accessibility. In other words, George could have other units that can be conform to AAB regulations by making them accessible to blind or deaf individuals that are carrying a handicap.
Thank you, Pamela, for clarifying that for me. Thank you.
I would point that out moving forward, and if anything came up, I would talk to the AAB to let them know what your plans are up front, which would help you as you're walking down the path to get this approved.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there are no elevators in the structure, right?
There are. But the elevator, by having this layout, the elevator only needs to be 2 stops, here and here.
Great.
Yeah. So we have no hallways on that floor and no hallways on this floor. Again, using every square inch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So should I go back? Should we stay on this page?
You can continue. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, not at all. So that's the design. These are not construction plans. These are design plans. So, but this is the design of how we envision the floor plan to be. Of course, to be further refined when full set of construction documents come out. But back to the, I guess, call it tomorrow, because that's why we're all here, is, it's just the challenge of this building was considerable. And I believe I can say without hesitation, we put in our absolute best effort in this design. And I hope you agree we've achieved the task of balancing all the factors of the historical significance, as well as the viability of the project, and making it a place you want to live in and next to. We want it to be part of our city. So for us, moving forward, the route for realizing this, making this project come to fruition, the major steps are approval of the concept by the city leaders and the Marlborough Historical Society, which is this esteemed committee today. We already have a letter of support from the mayor's office and MEDC, which is great. So we'll be submitting that, and hopefully a letter of support from the Marlborough Historical Commission to the Massachusetts State Historical Commission in our
Yes.
presentation.
Yes.
After that, if we hopefully get their blessing, their approval, we would go for site plan submittal, project approval by the city of Marlborough, building permitting, site preparation and project scheduling, the construction of the development, the occupancy permit, which is always the exciting part, and then when the residents occupy it, and then we have to continue to maintain and reinvest in this property for tomorrow and the years to come. So,
George, thank you very much, George, for your presentation. Does anybody, I have a couple of comments, but does anybody have anything that they want to raise at this point with Mr. Voyatzis?
No, I think he's done an outstanding job,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I'd like to amplify what Pam said and say that I really love what I see here. I mean, I could stand here and quibble about little bits and pieces of the design, but that's not the point of this exercise. The character, the thought put into how we're replicating saving what we can. I mean, this is the absolute, in my opinion, this is the benchmark of what we should be doing, saving what we can, but still making things economically viable. This was an excellent. I mean, we've seen these plans, George. I mean, you've been sending things to Bob, and Bob's been sharing things to us. So we've seen these evolve, and I'm very excited to see these renderings. This is excellent.
Thank you for the kind words.
Andrea?
I think that I'm blown away. I think it's really wonderful work, and I appreciate that you have taken so much time and effort and care to try to make sure that the building that we know that can be so beautiful is looking that way in your rendering, and that's really fantastic. I do have one question. I would imagine that these will be sold off as condominiums, yes?
No, they'll be structured as condominiums, but we'll have full ownership.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
So in terms of building maintenance and things of that nature, once it's fully occupied, who are you saying that you and your company will be responsible for maintaining the building itself?
Or a management company.
Or a management company. Okay. Because I think, obviously long term, we want this, you're going to put a lot of work in, so much work. And, just to keep it from falling into disrepair like it has been, even a little bit would be, an issue. So
I couldn't agree with you more.
yeah. So I just want to be sure that if in the future, this commission wants to have contact with whoever is owning the building, it'd be good to make sure we know who that is.
I fully expect my children to be collecting income from
Well, that was extraordinarily transparent, George. Thank you
Fair
for
enough, George. Fair enough. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your time and the energy you've put into this.
Thank you.
Melanie, do you want to add anything, or?
No, I think it's beautiful as well. It's I like the buttress, the fortress style in the front. I think it's very, very appropriate.
Yes. Well, George, I think you've done what we've asked you to do here tonight. Two things. You are expecting from the Historical Commission a letter to the Massachusetts Historical Commission
Yes.
saying that we've looked at renderings and plans, and the Marlborough Historical Commission requests that the Mass people help approve. What exactly will you be requiring from them to move forward? Do you know, George?
What I'll be requiring from them is to remove the deed restriction
Yeah.
Gotcha.
that's on there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
they
that will allow us to do this.
You've already been in touch with them about that, is that
I have,
correct?
so I'll forward you Elizabeth Sherva's contact information
Yes.
for the letter if you choose to do so, which we really need.
Yes.
We want to put in as much support from the community, which really we're the largest stakeholders.
Yes.
And that carries a lot of weight at the state level.
Yes.
So, in not to be the secretary, but I am the secretary. I feel like we should vote. We should have a motion and vote on the endorsement and then the letter that's going to be created. Do we think that's appropriate?
That is appropriate. And Brendan, I'm writing one down right now so that we can get it on the record, in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
Excellent. Can
Give
you?
me 1 second.
Yeah.
Is it something that we should vote in this meeting, or should we do it in the next meeting?
I don't have a problem doing it now, but
No, we should vote this meeting to approve.
Well, hold on a second, Bob. What was it you were going to say, Andrea?
I don't have a problem doing it this meeting. what does our agenda say about this meeting?
Plan review, future plans, and discussion of Marlborough Armory with the owner developer.
Okay,
The plan review and also his future plans, and then a discussion of the same.
okay.
Do we want to say plan review or do you want to say concept review?
I understand what you're saying, Pamela. Yeah, plan review sounds like it goes to somebody else. Concept review is a good one.
Right.
Okay.
We're not the final say on it, and I'm sure that George is going to have to make adjustments as he goes through the process.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the motion. Here's what I would move to endorse the concept presented on July 23rd, 2020, and to provide a letter as requested by owner developer George Voyatsis.
I'll take that as a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Do we go down the list, Brendan?
Yes, we need to do a roll call.
Are you there? Is Brendan plugged? Yeah. Oh,
Well, before we vote, George, does that meet your needs, do you think, that motion?
It does, because the sooner I can get that letter, the sooner I can submit.
So I'm sorry, I have to apologize. My teams crapped out for the last 20 seconds. So the last thing that I have is, Andrea, you were reading off the text. So I have the votes to endorse the concept of the presentation on July 23rd, 2020. Is there any
Yes.
other text?
Brendan, I have moved to endorse the concept presented July 23rd, 2020, and provide a letter as requested by George Voyatsis, owner developer George Voyatsis. And I can email that to you so you have it exact.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
okay.
And I seconded.
So
Okay,
we've
so
had
roll
a
call.
motion. Yeah, roll call.
Pamela, you obviously are yay.
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes,
and I am also an emphatic yes.
And I believe Mr. Slattery may be with us.
I am now. Yeah.
Where
Alan,
are
do you have any idea what time you jumped in?
Probably the last 7 minutes and 34 seconds.
7 minutes and 34 seconds ago. Okay. Do me a favor the next time, because of the requirements for the law.
Yeah.
The next time you come in, just barge in and declare your presence with authority so I can make a note of it. I'm giving you permission.
I'll try to do that.
All right. Just as long as he's not on I-95 North in Virginia somewhere.
No, I'm not. I'm sitting in the
All right.
dining room because I'm still waiting to get in from the iPad. I'm still in the waiting room,
Okay. All right, Alan.
but I'm on my phone.
Okay. Okay, George, and you will get me that information about Mass Historical, that lady. I remember her name, but who to contact, and I'll follow up, writing something up based on Andrea's comment, and we'll get it sent out through to all our members. So,
Well,
anything else?
I just want to say thank you, and with your support, I will commit my resources to make this development a showpiece for the neighborhood and the city. And just thank you again for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, all right,
Thank you, George.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, George, for a long time commitment to
Yes.
Marlborough.
We're definitely going to look forward to this, George. We'll hold you to it, my friend. But I do want to say this before I leave. If you think about Lincoln Street, if this building approaches anything like the presentation that we've seen, even without the Marlborough Economic Development's little project down on the other side of Mechanic Street, this is going to be the icon on Lincoln Street. And Maybe this will also help push development in a positive and valuable way and in a historic way. So thanks again, George. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right. Moving to what is now item 3. Nick, Captain Nick, I never did ask you if there was any comments about, after all, it is a military facility and
I loved it. So if you can put on the record, I didn't have anything else to add.
yeah. Okay, good. I just forgot to ask you. Okay. Moving to item 3, which is correspondence and communications. Some things have taken place that we do have to talk about. And they have to do also with item 4, which is our basic group of to-do items. The business with historic preservation review, otherwise known as demolition delay, but historic preservation. No, okay. Historic preservation review period. And also this list of historic homes, the list that we're going to be working with the city. So what came up, correspondence and communications? There was a meeting on July 2nd with veterans at the Italian American Club, and I participated in the meeting. It was originally called by the veterans agent to help facilitate creating a list of names of streets and associating that particular street name with a veteran killed in action or in service. And particularly, this meeting was meant to discuss, well, what about streets like Stevens Street, where there are maybe 6 veterans, and maybe 4 of them were killed in the service? Which one is Stevens Street named after? We don't know. And so the thrust of that meeting was, I believe, left to, and I think it was my recommendation, Matt Sargent should connect any military name associated with any street, connect any name to it, and the ones that are obvious, that's fine. Geekus Lane or some obvious name, that's fine. Sassaville. But for those streets that might have multiple names, multiple people associated with it, it should be the veterans who tell the city it should be this person. If it's Demers, which of the 2 Demers boys is Demers? It turns out that it's Richard, but an idea like that. But it should be not the DPW or us saying, it should be, this particular person. It's if the veterans are going to be naming or want to name and are allowed to name streets after individuals who've died in service, they should be giving us the names. And I think that's how we left it. So I wanted to let you know, eventually we'll be drawn back into that conversation, but it really is a veterans situation.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. You jumped in first. Nope, could have just been background noise. So is this initiative, these streets were initially named after veterans and we just lost track of which veteran it was, or are we just saying we're going to match known veterans with existing street names to honor those folks that served?
There's many council orders naming streets for a particular veteran. There's many, many of them.
Yeah,
So
streets and facilities and everything.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of our tradition.
That's fine. But for those streets that it's not that simple, then I think what we're saying is we have to have the veterans, their input into this quote unquote list. I think the mayor thought that there was a list in, I think in point of fact, with the veterans, with the DPW, with the city, whatever, there was probably 4 lists accumulated over a period of time. And I think this one's going to put it to bed so that the city of Marlborough has a specific list that names can be drawn up.
I think if the city goes back to when they instituted the regulation that said that all public streets must be named after a deceased veteran, and then moves forward from there, we can put the issue to bed, and then moving forward, it would be the responsibility of every veteran's family, if you will, to let us know, well, to put them on that list.
Yes, this is, what's the word? Not complicated, but this is a little bit more complex than what I think is originally thought. Well, somebody died and he's a veteran, so let's name a street after him. Well, the point being, he died in training. He died of an illness while in service. He died. I mean, that's the veterans picking.
Yeah, I feel like this is, I have nothing but admiration and enthusiasm for the policy of Marlborough and how we pay respects to people who serve for this country. I don't know that this is strictly a preservation thing. If we're talking about changing names or just honoring folks that are in existing spots, our initiatives our plate's so full right now. It's sort of a if people want to continue and amplify that tradition, we're not changing structures, we're not moving walls, we're not moving physical things. It's just I don't know that it's necessarily a historical commission thing.
Yes, exactly. I agree also that we are at the bottom of the list, and as far as this is concerned, I think they do want to consider putting up little plaques under the name of the street. That then becomes a placard, and it may be part of our purview. I just want to make sure that we put our 2 cents in where it's necessary. I don't want to participate in this as a project, but where it's necessary, I think we can support what is going to move forward. But this is an agent thing, a veterans thing. All right. I just wanted to let you know that I was invited to that meeting and I participated. The Robin Hill Cemetery, in reference to that Department of Transportation on-ramp that's going to be worked on by Department of Transportation. We were fortunate. We put in a request, the committee put in a request for some shade foliage at one of the corners, the southeast corner, because it's so close to the curve of the road that I thought that shade foliage was necessary there just to block the view if you were in the cemetery. And that concession was approved by the Department of Transportation. So as they work on that project, we're going to have some foliage put in there based on our request. And last but not least, the stone wall project. The mayor mayor's office called me yesterday in reference to a meeting that was held with the building. What was the group, Brendan? You and I participated in.
Yeah, it was. His name was
Pamela. It's Dr. Fenby's group.
A planning board.
The planning
Yes.
board. Yes. They ran an open session on the stone wall at that home on Stowe Road that was partially demolished or partially, reworked or whatever. And it came up. Both Brendan and I talked about the fact that, stone walls are historical items. And in reference to scenic roads, of which Stowe Road is listed as a Marlborough scenic road, scenic roads refer specifically to stone walls and shade trees. I mean, that's the thrust of having a road named a scenic road, protection of those items, or at least bringing those items up in front of the public when any changes are looked to be made. And the mayor got in touch, the mayor's office got in touch with me yesterday and said, well, most of the people in Marlborough don't even know what responsibilities they have in reference to the houses that they live in on scenic roads. And I couldn't agree more. And this is, again, something that we've talked about as a group, as a committee, and I put it off. I put it off as one of our second or third tier initiatives that we were going to follow, because we had, important items like historic preservation period review and historical homes list. But, in a small municipality, there's a lot of reactive work that gets done. And it seems to me that maybe we're in a situation where I think we should develop a letter just for the people who live on scenic roads, the scenic roads that are listed by the city council in 1992 as scenic roads. Maybe send out a letter to them, a one-page letter describing certain responsibilities that they may not know that they have, especially if they're on their property is, stone walls, especially as a boundary to the street, stone walls and shade trees. And I told the mayor's office, to Trish, that we would work on that, getting some kind of a letter out. And I'm imagining, I would open this up to you, I'm imagining a letter of introduction and maybe a very simple flyer, a very simple one-page glossy brochure that talks about historic stone walls.
Yeah, that's all it needs to be. Which one of the cities, so I've been here for a while and I've been on this committee for a while, but I'm still learning. Which one of the departments in the city is responsible for this, is most responsible for this? Is it the DPW?
Yes, I think, the DPW, the forestry department, I think, certainly in reference to trees, but I think
an arborist.
There has to be a special hearing if anyone is requesting to take down trees on a scenic road at the front of the property. There also has to be, and that's a joint hearing between the forestry department, it would be Chris White, and the planning board. If it's just the stone wall at the front of the property, because remember, the scenic road has nothing to do, unfortunately, with the other side yard existing stone walls. If it's just the stone wall and it's not just to open for a driveway, then you have to have a hearing just before the planning board, not the DPW.
Okay. So yeah, that process was followed. Well, it wasn't exactly followed. There was some extensive damage done to the wall, and then we had an after the fact hearing. But and again, we at least, in my opinion, it's like, well, we tried, we got there. I mean, we got there eventually, which is important. But at the end of the day, you know, this type of outreach is beyond, like, we need city resources, right? We need the department to print it out.
Absolutely, Brendan. And I think what the mayor is saying is if we could work up some kind of, and I said that, to be very honest with you, I said this falls into our motto of preservation by education. This is a perfect example. If we can get in touch with the residents that specifically live on scenic roads and inform them. Some of them, I'd say, you know, some of them may know about all the ramifications of that, but I would suspect that 80 or 90% don't. So we would be doing our job by fulfilling that. I guess what I'm saying is I would like to bring this back up as, quote unquote, a project that we should address.
So I guess what I'm asking, Bob, is before I raise my hand and say I'll do this, I need help. I need someone from the city. I need a department. I need a point of contact, just like we had with Macris. So I have my friend in the Macris office now that probably regrets that he ever helped me once, because I guarantee you I'm coming back to that well again.
Well, we won't talk about
that. But he, I don't think he'll mind. But I would need.
Oh.
Or it cut
No,
out.
we lost him again.
Yeah, that's
okay. It's I'm in the hinterlands, so
okay. Right. I hear what you're saying. You have just raised your hand, but nevertheless, I want to say this. I had been in touch with Nick, Captain Nick, in reference to another much broader, way in the future project in reference to stone walls. And I suspect that if you two could put your heads together, and I have access to Nathaniel at the DPW, who's got a wall map of stone walls and scenic streets. So I think we can do this. Nick,
do you mind if I jump in here real quick, Bob?
Sure, please do.
Yeah, so I did do a little digging into this. And by how the code is written, I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's the scenic road chapter. The planning board is supposed to be, it's 497. The planning board is anytime they get any kind of road repair, maintenance, reconstruction, that involves cutting of trees or tearing down walls, the planning board is supposed to send us copies for review as it's written. So this process should be kind of automatic, where we're getting it and then we can review it and work with them and approve like we just did with the other property. So they should be doing that if they haven't been doing it already. And then also, do we know who the tree warden is for Marlborough?
Yes, absolutely. Chris White, a good man.
Chris White.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like the planning board is supposed to be reaching out to us, the tree warden. There's city council, conservation commission, city engineer. All these people are supposed to be getting copies anytime someone submits a plan to remove more than 10 feet of stone wall or to cut down more than one shade tree that's more than 4 inches in diameter. So we honestly shouldn't have to send out pamphlets. We should just kind of take, as they send us over the documents for proposal, we can just review them and kind of just follow the intent of the code. So like, for the other property, did they submit to the planning board? Like, did the planning board know that they were taking out this, or is this just someone who had decided to take down the wall on their own?
Yeah, this was after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the genesis of this was there were cardboard signs put up in front of the property on Memorial Day weekend that said "Free rocks, come take them."
Okay.
Yep.
And
It's on
then,
Facebook too.
yeah,
Gotcha.
and then the city, thankfully, someone caught a hold of it, and we had a wonderful. They must have a wonderful sign department in the DPW because there was a very terse and professional-looking DPW sign that said, "Please stop removing the rocks." And then we have a hearing this week to sort of adjudicate the situation.
The problem, if I could, the problem, and I'm speaking as the previous planning board secretary who listened to a lot of these presentations, is that most people who are currently purchasing property on what is now scenic roads is looking to do a lot of the work to clean up property. So unless we catch them, which, you know, if you're advertising on Facebook that you're going to be giving away rocks, that's one way. But in a lot of cases, we don't catch them. We don't know that they're doing that. They don't know they're on a scenic road. They don't know that that pile of rocks that doesn't really look like much right at the moment is actually a historical feature.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just want to, oh, that's just a pile of rocks. We want to clean it up and make a nice wall, which a lot of people have done, but they don't realize what they've done.
Right.
So I don't think, as much as I understand what Nick is saying, I'm not sure that waiting for people to come to us. The only people who would come to the planning board ahead of time would be developers who are developing a subdivision and know that they've got to do something like that.
Yeah,
Most
I mean,
homeowners are unaware.
Yeah, and in this instance, this specifically came up, and one of the planning board members was very frank in speaking, and when he said that it was on their deed, and it's not the fault of the city, it was the fault of the attorneys who managed the transition of properties, right? That did the transaction, that didn't call out or pay attention to any the easements and the documents that are associated that were attached to that deed. It was clear. I mean, there's no ambiguity if you take a look at the actual document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, you were going to say something.
No, I'm trying to get all this together. I mean, I get it. I think again, you can kind of circle back to at least getting signage for the scenic roads once we determine which roads are scenic, and then at the very least they'll know they're on a scenic road. And
Absolutely. That was one of the things long ago when it was one of our initiatives that we sort of put on the back burner, or
Right.
I did. Just getting a sign saying, Stowe Road, Scenic Road, just they're all over Framingham. They're all over every other town. Why don't we have them? And I think that would be a start. I'll get back with the mayor's office and tell them that, to be very honest with you, we can write up a letter or even a brochure. We can do it very quickly. I'm an English major. I could help with that. But if we could get the sign Scenic Road demonstrable to the entire city, that would be a start.
Yeah, it's the signage, but I'm happy to, Nick is now officially the subject matter expert on walls, which is great. So I'm more than happy to help drive forward the initiative. But Bob, if you can, and not to put anything directly on your plate, but if you could, I'm very excited. The mayor was at the planning board meeting. I'm very excited that we got a response from that. And if we could engage the city and say that we need resources, right? So we're a volunteer organization, and we can discuss things, and we can generate collateral, but we need if we're going to do a mailing, then we need the resources to. We know who the streets are. That's in Macris. We don't need to do an exploratory thing. This is very black and white. What we need is some support. And I know things are tough right now and budgets are really tight. But
I'm pretty sure that in reference to a project like this, we're not developing, a plot of land like Lincoln Street.
We're not building a new library. We're looking for a little education program.
Exactly right. Mailing lists, etc. I'll get in touch with him. I will pursue that. Okay, and I'll keep the Stonewall subcommittee as Nick and Brendan and myself. Okay, anybody else that wants to join in can, but I'll let you guys be the subcommittee. Okay.
Love it.
All right. I'm not going to vote on that either because I don't want anybody saying no. Okay. Listen, it's gone. We're at 8 o'clock, but listen, Melanie has done on item number 4, historic preservation review period. Melanie and Andrea have done a yeoman's job in putting together the historic preservation review document and the historic preservation review document PowerPoint presentation. So they've done a yeoman's job in doing that. Melanie, you sent out just before the meeting the 2 items, the document and then a PDF, a list, a street list.
Right.
Explain to us what it is you've sent out to us.
So I changed the wording from from bylaw to ordinance, and I also changed the I guess I'd say I streamlined the flow in the procedure. And in a separate document, to understand myself, I took a look at the number of days that we're asking people to wait at different points. And I can share that with the group. I wasn't able to find it quickly tonight when I sent this out. And then I sent the document over to Andrea. And we feel that this is, it's evolved to what it is today. But Andrea has some comments about how people might view being a homeowner of a historically preserved property. So I think we should address that a little bit. I think we should spend some time on that today. And in the background, what I did is I took your list, Brendan, and I added, I pulled it out, I put it into a separate Excel and sorted it by street name. And as I had time, I drove around and looked at the houses and I said, how do I classify these? Some were missing, some I couldn't even find. Some were renovated beyond historically significant, and some were truly still historically significant. You could see remnants of architecturally, you could see remnants of the of their beginnings, and I think, in my opinion, that they should be on our list. What I think we need to do at this point is go through each, take a street, like you mentioned a long time ago, Bob, take a few streets and go through methodically, look at every one that's on the list. So if you take a look at what I had the time to look at, I hit 66 out of the, what was it, 582?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So about 12% of them. And as I said in the in the email, only 25 of the 66, in my opinion, seemed worthy to be on our final list. That's only 38%. 19 did not seem to be worthy. 22 were questionable, and that's where I think we need to have another set of eyes, or maybe the whole group, take a look at those and say, oh yeah, I agree, it's been renovated way beyond saving. And then of the 66, 11 were categorized as National Register eligible. 4 of the 11 are very well preserved. And perhaps we should, somewhere down the line, pursue National Registry application for those. 5 of those 11 were in such a state of disrepair and remodeled beyond recognition that I don't think they qualify any longer. And 2 were definitely beyond eligible. So
All right,
that's where I am.
Yes, and you've sent us that list, and I'll be very honest with you. I looked at the presentation, the document, and I'm amazed that you guys, wrote such a wonderful document. But I didn't pay attention really to the list itself. But I did see that you divvied them up based on should be preserved, could be preserved, not good enough, totally destroyed, etc. So it's like you gave them a scale. You followed a scale in your. I would like, I think, maybe if we could tell me how to do this efficiently. There's 7 of us. Split up that list into 7 units. I don't know how you do that.
Also provided, so full disclosure, Alan also provided valuable information, much like Melanie had done here, as far as looking at properties. And Alan used his, I've lived here since they put up the John Brown Bell.
Yes.
And I know these structures. So we have more information. So we have the Macris list, which is the Genesis. Now we have Alan and Andrea's. So you're right. How do we carve this up?
Can I make a comment here as well?
Please.
One of the things that I think we need to be careful of, and very sort of mindful of, is that if we're going to carve the list up, we should be working from the same factors.
Criteria. Yeah.
Criteria.
Yes, that's Melanie's. I think it's Melanie's.
I mean, what I'm looking at here as possible criteria based on this conversation and frankly last month's conversation, with no one factor being totally dispositive, but sort of a balancing of all of them, would be the date of construction, any name associated with the house. We know we have some named properties. Historical role of significance. Is this building important for a historic purpose? The architecture. Is this architecture significant or not? The condition of the property. And maybe its own thing or a subset of that. Comment about, has this been dated or remodeled so many times that it's no longer historically significant? That might be conditioned or subset, or could be its own thing, I guess. And then what I heard you say is National Register eligible. I don't know if there's other factors you would want to consider, but I think that, if I'm part of the list and these are the houses I think, check these boxes, I would want Brendan, Bob, Pam to have that same reaction.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't come across as arbitrary. Because the last thing to have is this is arbitrary, and then be challenged on that, and then not have really the rationale for why we selected the house or not. Those were sort of thoughts about the criteria that we would use. I don't know. I can email this out to you and think about it some more, and maybe vote on it next time as sort of a list of criteria so that we're all working in the same direction.
Well, the list that Brendan created already has the date, the name, the historical significance, and the architecture, the period that it was symbolic of. The first column where I say yes, no, or questionable is actually the condition.
Yeah.
And then I put a note in to myself in my list of whether or not it had been remodeled beyond repair.
Yeah.
And the National Historic Register is in my Excel.
Yeah, and I guess when I date forward, my audio coming in weird.
Yeah, it sounds like a frog.
Yeah.
Sounds like a frog, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, perhaps the house from the 1920s maybe isn't as much of a priority as the house from 1700. You know what I'm saying? A house that is really, you know, is newer but has really interesting architecture, you know, might then be more attractive to put on the list than, you know, a really old house that's very in poor condition. So I kind of see like the older the building being kind of more weighed heavily or looked at more seriously, perhaps, almost like a sliding scale type of situation. But tell me if I'm crazy about in saying that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm jump in here.
Whoa.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. So you're coming very, very strangely.
Sorry. Can you hear me? Still messed up.
Yeah,
You sound like you're gargling, Mike.
You sound like you're for a ransom.
I'm gonna cut out. I'm not gonna go back down.
it's all that penguin spear you got, man. It's Marlborough. It's just interfering with everything.
I'm going to mute myself so that I don't.
Well, all right, we're back to lists. Nick, are you with us?
I think he's logging out and coming back in.
Oh, okay. Pamela, I know we have a city councilor listening in, but maybe, John, if there's something, you wanted to add to this, but I think we're ready to present at least an overview of the Marlborough Historical Commission's Historic Preservation Review Period.
No.
Document.
No.
Yeah, we're not there yet, Bob. We gotta, the mandate that we were given, the sense that we were given specifically from Chairman Ossing was around this. We can't just throw a blanket over properties. So I'm super appreciative, and as I'm trying to move this as much as any of us, but the fact that Melanie went out and did exactly what we wanted to do, and Andrea did a great job of saying, okay, that's valuable work, but the problem is if it gets examined after the fact, it seems arbitrary. So we have to, every month we get this list a little smaller, we get a little closer.
Okay. Yeah,
But I feel like that next step is we have to define those. So there's that next variable. So we know the starting point of the properties because they're on the Marcus list and those previous things that we discussed. But now it's the substantive, because we're trying to be targeted. There's this sort of qualitative analysis that has to happen, that we have to make it as uniform as possible. Andrea, did I restate your sentiment correctly?
Yes.
You just restated it from last meeting too, and I'm sorry, Andrea, I just forgot about the fact that we gotta push everything in reference to the list.
Can you all hear me yet? Am I back?
It's got to be defensible, And I would go as far to say that once we have the list, I think we need to reach out to those homeowners and say,
Absolutely,
this is
yes.
what we're considering doing, and
Yes.
you know, even surveying them in some way, shape, or form, so that we can then go with a fully formed ordinance, a list of properties, and be able to say, and these are the people that are on board with it. So please vote for this.
Okay.
And then I think we have a chance. I think we have a shot at it. But short of that, I don't know that we will.
I agree. And having been in some other city meetings recently,
Seriously?
Marlborough is very, very curt and very good at, nope, and we're done, we're dead. Then we're starting from scratch, and we're doing a wonderful job so far, but it's still, and God knows from a timeline standpoint, from my professional background, this kills me because I'm used to getting stuff done in like weeks, days and weeks, but it's just a deliberate process, and I'd rather we spend extra time, not necessarily tonight, but every piece of work that we have is just, it keeps building into this. And
Okay.
so I guess we just need to figure out so we have this now. So our next goal is to figure out how to standardize the qualitative analysis of the properties on the list. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And I would say, I've got my criteria here, and obviously I think, we need to kind of think about it and consider it, but I'm happy to kind of develop the rubric with these factors in mind that we can add to, modify, over the course of the next month, so that next meeting, hopefully we have one that we're all comfortable with and feel like we'll do the job that we needed to do by preserving the properties we think could be best preserved and not be arbitrary about it.
All right. I'll look forward to seeing that and receiving that, Andrea. And if you could work with Melanie, the two of you, I think you're my subcommittee on historic preservation review lists and qualities, etc. So if you could consider yourself that part of the team, I'd appreciate it.
Yep. And Melanie did an outstanding job. You sent me what she had worked on, and I said it was great. And my only comment was, okay, now how do we get the list? Because the ordinance references the list, and it's sort of like, okay, all right, now we have to get the list. Like, what is that going to be, and how are we going to do that?
So can we say then, coming to the end here, as a to-do for us, number one, I was not planning on having an August meeting, but I'm very willing to, and I think that there's a certain amount of urgency here. Can we have an August meeting? Or have you guys already booked time down Cape Cod or something like that?
I'm trapped at Faulty Towers, so yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going anywhere this year.
Yeah, I'm happy to have an August meeting.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay. All right, Nicholas?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I did just want to, real quick, I know it's getting late, but I thought the intent of going through this list initially was just to get something up to City Hall so that we don't have another church that's getting taken down right away. And then we were going to whittle the list down and refine it as we go. Since we're not doing a formal demolition delay, it's more of just, these are houses to keep an eye on. So I went through and I did the whole list and just did a binary yes or no answer on it. And then I was hoping we could just cross-reference our list and go from there. But I don't know if that's totally crazy.
Hey, yeah, we'll take your binary, Nick, and Andrea and Melanie work up some kind of a chart.
Yeah.
And we'll put the two together.
Can you send me that too? So then what I'll do is, and again, it's just about keeping a sort of a record here. And what I'll do is I'll append the Macris list with an additional column with the feedback from from each of the board members, and then that way, either we share it with a wider audience or we don't, but we at least have a record of what we're looking at.
Right, we can use it, yes. Okay. Well, I guess that was a marathon.
Want a cup of coffee?
Yeah, I guess I had a couple of coffees, 2 extra here. I wanted to get the city council to approve the historic preservation review period manual overnight, but I guess that's going to have to be set for another time. I appreciate your efforts. Brendan, are you going to, or is somebody going to split the list up into 7 pieces?
Well, I think that we need to. I can do that. I mean, I've effectively already done it. People just have to raise up and pick a ward. But I think that what Andrea's point is that we need to, before we start collecting data, we need to make sure that the work that we're doing is done in a uniform and defensible and repeatable way. That's what she means by rubric. So we create a set of conditions, and then we look at the properties that entails. Because we can't, as much as actual inspection is valuable, and that does need to factor into it at a certain point, where it's like, this isn't here anymore, or somebody's turned this into a nightclub and then turned it into a house, and then turned it into a nightclub and turned it into a house, and then an auto shop. So like, okay, clearly those aren't eligible nor worth our time, but that still has to be codified. Those parameters have to be codified. So it's not, if someone comes to us and says, well, you declared my house historical, how did that happen? And if we just say, well, Alan, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, I'm not trying to pick on anyone. Alan knows that there's historical significance here because he's lived in the town and in the city and knows historical significance. That doesn't stand up if somebody is trying to do a larger project. So that's where Andrea is coming from, and that's the right way to do this if it takes more time. I agree. Getting criteria or rubrics, whatever you want to call it, getting that out to us, that's important. All I'm saying, Brendan, and saying it to the rest of us is, what chunk do we take? I mean, if Nick went around and saw all 580 of them, I say, holy cow, I can't do that. Even if I'm drinking John Jameson, I couldn't do that. You shouldn't do that if you're drinking John Jameson.
I think at the next meeting, if we have a criteria that we all agree on, if there's already a list, we can hit the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right at that point.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
so we'll work on the criteria for the next meeting.
Yeah. And I'll do this within the next day. And Brendan, I can send it to you, and maybe you can post it to our Google Drive.
Yep. Will do.
You guys can, review it, pick at it, think about it, come up with other ways of saying it, ideas, questions, clarifications, and then we can hash it out next meeting.
Okay. I'm looking at August 20th or August 27th.
20th is better for me, but I can be flexible.
I'm fine with either.
I have it in for the 20th.
The 20th would have been our regular date.
Either day will work for me.
Hey,
thanks, Mark.
You're the important. We don't have
Peanut
you.
gallery.
Hey, he's the one running the show, so yeah.
I just want to tell Nick his problems is probably that little sign he's got back there. He should put one of these up,
What I say? What I say?
All right.
It's okay. We're a diverse community, Mark. You have to respect everybody, all of their backgrounds, all of their beliefs, even if they're crazy Mario Lemieux fans.
Yeah, but nevertheless, Mark, at least he has the right colors there, right? They're the right colors. Okay. All right, so for as far as the to-do list is, it's definitely to work on the rubrics and the criteria for us looking at the list of historic houses
And
physically.
I think we'll also have an opportunity to look at the proposed ordinance between now and then and
Yes,
have
absolutely.
a lengthy
Yeah.
discussion about that as well.
All right.
Cool.
And
Yeah, can we
I-
actually,
and I-
may I make
I-
a suggestion, Bob?
Yes,
Can I suggest that our next agenda, unless something really pressing comes up, that we just focus on this conversation?
yes, we limit it to this, yes. I agree. But this is Marlborough. Something will come up between now and then, believe me. But nevertheless, I'll put just this idea on the agenda for next meeting. And I will call the mayor's office, or I'll write the mayor's office and say, I think, before we're writing letters or anything like that, I think we should get the signage up. That, Maple Street is, part of Maple Street, but Church Street is a scenic road, and Stowe Road is a scenic road, and Concord
Bob,
Road.
I'll ping you and Nick tomorrow. I'll send a note to you and Nick tomorrow about the walls.
Okay,
So we can do that in the background, and then the next meeting, the focus of the next meeting will be the historic preservation review period ordinance, and then the wall thing, we can let that float. And I live off of Stowe Road. I'll make sure that none of these people take you down any more walls.
all right, okay, yes.
Good
Yes,
for you. All patrol.
I'll go down to Callahan's gun shop and get you a nice 12-gauge shotgun.
This is being recorded, Bob, and we would
Oh,
never want
okay.
to talk about anything like that on recording.
Please, scratch-
Suffice to say that I can be an observant person that has the phone number.
All right, okay. Is there anything that I missed on the agenda that we should follow, or is that, do you think that we've covered what we said we were going to cover?
I think we've done everything.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do we need
But now I
to?
got to do it. I'm sorry, I got to do it. This is
Go
Charlie
ahead.
Baker
Yeah.
said
All
it.
right.
We got to do this. This is how we do these remotely.
Okay,
So meeting adjourned. We have a motion and seconded. Give me a second. Pamela,
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes?
Alan, if you're still there.
We lost him.
We lost him.
Brendan,
Yeah.
I'm voting yay.
Yep.
So
Oh,
meeting
and Alan
adjourned.
just said yes.
Oh, he did say yes.
Yes.
He's still with
Yeah.
us?
Yes, I heard him
Yeah.
in the background.
Oh, sorry, he must have just been on mute.
Yeah. Okay, all right, that concludes this meeting. And Mr. Irish, thank you for listening in.
Thank you so much.